Hey guys, welcome back to the show. In this episode, I have a really special guest with me today. She's an amazing author and has been recognized by many celebrities like Kelsey Ballerini, Maren Morris, Khloe Kardashian, Camila Cabello, and many more. This is Jamie Varon. Hi Jamie, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, of course. It's my pleasure to have you on. So please introduce yourself and maybe talk a little bit about your latest book.
Yeah, so my latest book is called The Alchemy Within. I also have three other books that have been published. The Alchemy Within, I'm self-publishing, and it's 180 days, but each day is one of my posts from Instagram and Facebook that I've been posting since, 2016-ish. It's kind of a long like a collection of that work that I've been doing for a long time, with some added ones that I've never published anywhere. So I'm really excited about it. And then I have some other books, Radically Content, which is my self-help slash, memoir, main character energy, which is my first novel. And then there's a journal companion to Radically Content. So I'm really excited. I mean, it's always been a dream of mine to have books out in the world. So I'm just putting as many out there as I possibly can.
Yeah, that's awesome. So like what really was like kind of like the stemming idea behind like the alchemy within like what really was like your incentive to like use your social media posts as like the stories within it.
Yeah, because my social media posts, it's not really like to me content. Like I know people call things like that content. It's really like they're small essays. And I just felt like, well, first of all, I couldn't tell you how many times I've had people ask me if I have a book of all my posts. So I was like, okay, I guess this is something that, people would really want. And that was one part of it. But the other part was, with social media, it's so fleeting, and it's not that permanent, I don't know where Instagram will be or Facebook at one point. And books to me, it's like you really get to kind of own it and put it out there, and it doesn't really, they don't go away, So I wanted to kind of just make my work more permanent and substantial by putting them together in a book. It was really important to me to make sure that my work wasn't just like going up on the internet and just, not really existing as in any other form, just because it was so much of my life. For you know I started posting pretty regularly in like 2016, and so this has been a lot of my time. I mean, I've been writing online for a very long time, but that's was that specific type of format. So I just wanted to really make it into something substantial and like a body of work and a collection of work, just to, have that not only for other people to have, but, and to inspire them if they read a passage every single day, really can change your mindset, but also for myself to, honor the work that I've done and not just kind of have it exist on the internet and float away. And then it's just it seems like it doesn't matter in that sense.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like quite like an interesting concept really because I know like a lot of authors do tend to like turn their blog posts into books, but I've never heard of the social media posts being turned into like books. But that's awesome, honestly. Like, just having that outlet to kind of transfer all of that into like this one place so that you can not only for you but like for your audience as well to understand and enjoy. So I think it's really cool what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I won't say that I'm the first person to do it. I think it just maybe hasn't gotten in your, or maybe it's not. I'm kind of like saying that's what it is, but I've seen a solid amount of people who turn what they're writing that they put online and put it into a collection of a book. I've seen several people that I really love and admire. Kate Bear, Zana Keithley, like a lot of people that I've seen, Brianna Pastor, like, so I think it's a really cool way of, just having your book in another format, or your words in another format, and having that, I don't know. I personally just love the feeling of having like a book and a collection of something. So that's a big reason why I did it.
Yeah, that's great. So can you kind of go deep into like what really were these like stories that you put in the Alchemy Within about?
There's just so much of my own healing journey. I mean, whatever I've said on my social media is that what my process is, and this is why I called it the alchemy within, is like my process is I notice something about my own life, something that maybe needs to be healed, or, I need a new perspective on it. And then I really try to play with it and try to, understand it and observe it. And then I see it in other people. I see the same, self-doubt or not trusting yourself, or, creative blocks or resistance or self-hatred or self-loathing and these types of things. And then I write to like heal myself, like have a new perspective, to think about things differently, to change my mindset. And then I share it with people. And so, that's what changes from within. To me, I really honestly very like believe that so many people were like trying to change our external life. We're trying to change the circumstances around our life. And instead of changing how we feel within and inside and internally, like our mindset is really how we filter and determine our life. Like that's in Radically Content. That's even in Main Character Energy, having a character who sees the world through her filter of she doesn't deserve good things. She doesn't love herself. She doesn't feel worthy of her dreams. And so she gives up on them. So I just think like this idea of how you think about your life, how your mindset is about your life, can change the circumstances of them, which isn't to say it can change everything, but it can change how you view your own life. So I mean, that's the work of the alchemy within, but that's the work of everything that I do.
That's honestly so powerful though, because like in this day and age, it's very important to have that constant reminder of like, self-doubt is not something that should stop you from doing what you love. Because self-doubt, yes, in the name of it itself, it's like when you doubt yourself. But like, with your books and like there's so many other books out there too that kind of constantly talk about this, which is very important because like, as was mentioned earlier, we need this constant reminder that, everything is gonna be okay and that it's a normal part of life.
Yeah, I think probably more people than they think. Some people are really self-aware. Not everybody is, but I think everyone deals with self-doubt. That's why I kind of focus the alchemy within on self-doubt. I mean, Radically Content, there's so much about self-doubt and Main Character Energy. Her whole thing, like Poppy, the main character and Main Character Energy, her whole thing is self-doubt. Like, and her life reflects that. She lives a little smaller. She doesn't follow her dreams. She doesn't, it's like your life gets a lot smaller when you doubt yourself. And I personally struggled with that for so long. It was the thing that, I mean, it kept me from everything I wanted to do. And when I started to really examine that and look at my self doubt and go, okay, what's going on here? Like, what's the story I'm telling myself? Can I change this story of, if I sit down to write, for example, and I have doubt, does that mean I don't write? Or what's another way of going about it? Because especially creatives, like it's almost like a rite of passage. Like you're gonna have self-doubt. If you do anything new at all, you start anything new, the reason that starting something is so hard is because of self-doubt. That's why we procrastinate, because it's so hard to confront self-doubt. We think we're going to it's so much easier in our heads to do something. So then we doubt our ability to finish something or take it all the way through, or even, what's going to happen when it's done. It's just, I think it's one of the, like, I call it like an emotional epidemic, because so many people are living under this doubt and they don't have like that sense of worth that has nothing to do with like what you can achieve in this world or how much money you have or what you look like, just like your worth as a human, that you are worthy of being here on this earth, and so that was to me, that's why I started writing these types of things in 2016, because I needed an outlet. Like I needed to talk to people and say, does anyone relate to this? Like, is this just me? Like, am I the only person that just gets so weighed down by my self-doubt? And, all of a sudden I got all of these people being like, no, it's not just you. I feel that too. I feel that too. How did you know? How did you know? How do you put into words the things that I've never been able to articulate? And to me, that's just like the highest honor, because I'm like, that's what I needed. I started to do what I needed. And I wasn't seeing enough people. I'm just not the like fake it till you make it kind of person. I mean, I a little bit to an extent, but I'm like, you can only go so far in the faking it. You got to really kind of drill down and understand where the doubt is coming from. There's cultural influences, societal influences. There's so many influences based on how you present to the world, what you do. I mean, it's just so much internalization. And I think this is why there's a lot of unhappy people, because they hesitate in life. They don't go after the things that really matter. And after a while, I mean, you're still so young, but after a while, if you're the type of person that hesitates too much and you doubt yourself out of the things that you really want, it becomes a life of like real regret. And to me, I'm like, that's the saddest thing, because it was in your control at one point and it's still in your control. So I think that's the reason to me why I am such a I talk about self-doubt. I talk about how I still get self-doubt, because I'm just like, we need to normalize this. We need to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, everything like you said, you kind of basically touched on like those nitty-gritty things because like as you said, like, self-doubt not only doesn't need to be normalized, but it's also like I know I find myself self-doubting myself and like, facing like these things like, okay, when I do not do something right the first time around, like I'll never get this right. And so that kind of mentality needs to kind of be normalized in the way that not being like, okay, yeah, this is the good thing that you're doubting yourself, but rather being like, okay, if you're doubting yourself, what can you do to change that? What can you do to improve the way you think and not feel like you're the worst person on the planet. So like
Right.
I feel like everything you talked about, like from like making self-doubt normalized to the whole extent of kind of being okay with making mistakes is just very important.
Well, I would go so far. I think one of the things that I've really tried to share with a lot of people from my own experience is it's like, it's not that like the goal can't even be start something and don't feel doubt. Like people are always like, be fearless. It's like, you're not going to be fearless. There's like, well, small percentage of people who are fearless. Okay. Then there's the rest of us who are not fearless. And we have to expect self doubt. And that's okay. I think it's what making it mean, like what you just said, that if you make a mistake or you start something and you're not immediately good at it, or as good as someone you're comparing to on the internet or someone you saw that was doing it better or something like that, like it can't be that then we just quit and don't do it. I mean, because that's what I did for a very long time, and that made me very unhappy, and it makes you kind of angry at the world, even though you're really just kind of angry at yourself. And so, the doubt, it's like almost my thing is like I expect it now. Like if I'm starting a new book, like I'm going to sit down and write something new, for example, like a new novel. I know I'm going to feel self-doubt. It's not like I will ever not. So it's like it's just welcoming it. I'm like, okay, I'm starting something new. I know what you are. I know what this is. And the answer is not wait until I don't have self-doubt? The answer is just keep going through it. Like go through it. It's uncomfortable. It's not going to feel as effortless as people might make it seem, but it's just that's the only cure in a way is to take action and stay consistent. Like it's the, you got to, it's almost like going back to that cliche, like practice makes perfect because you just have to practice at these things and it does get easier, but it's never like, that self-doubt's going to go away completely and now I kind of see it as like it excites me, that I'm still having that self-doubt. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I still care about this, I still want to do a good job at this. I'm not like dead inside, or something. I'm like, I'm still worried in a sense, and it means I care and I'm doing something new. And I pride myself on that. So I'm like, I've really changed my perspective on self-doubt to the point where like now I see it as like a cool thing that I'm doing. And I wish that I could tell everyone that, especially like people your age, because I would say that separates people who listen to their self-doubt and people who don't. There's a total separation in where your lives will go, in your 20s and into your 30s. It has a very long, it's the story you tell yourself about trying new things, about what's possible in your life. Very often we either have someone telling us it's not possible or we're the ones telling ourselves it's not possible. And it does us no good. It's not really doing any favors for us. So it's kind of like my most, it's what gets me really fired up. I wish I could tell everyone how to have this totally different relationship with self-doubt, because I think it could make people breathe a lot easier and not have all this pressure on themselves, because that feeling of doubt that comes up, people think, "Oh, I'm doing something wrong." It's like, "No, you're actually doing something right." Like you're doing something new. You're doing something and it won't always feel like this. And maybe when you start a new thing, it'll feel like that, but you already know that you can get through it. So that's priceless.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like this is like quite empowering to just hear from you, like, or anyone really, because like I feel like, for me, as you keep like, mentioning, I feel like self-doubt for me, and I'm pretty sure this is like the case for a lot of people, which I think kind of drains down to the main point which you made, is that this is not just a you thing or a me thing. This is like a universal thing. Almost all of us have faced self-doubt at one point, whether we like to admit it or not. And I think by you kind of nailing down on that point kind of seals it in and shows us that yes, just because we have self-doubt doesn't make us like this alien to the universe, or doesn't make us different than others. It actually makes us more similar to them, because that's just how we're built. We're built in a way where we have this fighting mechanism, which like one moment of struggle and we're already like, running in our thoughts.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that the more people talk about this, the better. And I've noticed, of course, I see way more people talking about it than when I was growing up, because nobody would say anything. It was shameful to admit that. You gotta, present confidence and you're supposed to kind of know what you're doing. And, it's not really, it's showing that maybe you don't know what you're doing. And I think there's a lot more out there now where people can feel, that they're not alone in this. And that's why I started sharing as much as I did and do, is because I felt alone, for a long time, that like, oh, it seems like everybody else is doing things differently than me, and what's wrong with me? And then I started sharing and I was like, oh my God, that is not true. Like we have way more in common than we think, like once it just someone needs to be brave enough to admit it. And then you get people going, oh yeah, like someone has to just lead the conversation. And I just that's at one point decided, I was like, okay, I'll lead it, not because I think I have so much more to say on it. It's just I need to know that other people feel the same way as me, and then it will feel less shameful to feel this way.
Absolutely. Honestly, all your stories have been just amazing to hear. I feel like it kind of just gave me such a new perspective. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
It's honestly been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your insightful questions and for having me.
Thank you so much. Everyone listening to this episode, I hope you enjoyed hearing what Jamie had to say. I'll be linking her website in the show notes, so do not forget to check out her latest book, The Alchemy Within, and follow her on social media to hear her latest updates. Thank you so much, everyone, and I'll see you all next week.